Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Luke and today we will be installing rock lights. We will be going over the tools you'll need, the cost of the project, different mounting locations, different mounting methods, and different switch control options that you have to control the lights to turn it on and off. In full disclosure, I have never done this before. I am not claiming that this is the best way to mount rock lights. It is just a way to do it. So I'm going to walk you through step by step how we are installing these rock lights. Right, here are all the tools that we'll be using for the project. We'll be using a utility knife, a flathead screwdriver, pliers, a diagonal cutter, a wire stripper, cutter, and crimp, and a shop light. And things that I used also for this project are a hammer and a punch tool. And something that is also nice to have is a wire running kit. For the items that I used in this project, I will put them in the description below, as well as links on how to get them. Depending on your mounting methods, you may be using different items for this project. The total cost of the items in this project was $147.89 for me. This is not the most expensive, nor the cheapest option, but it is off-road ready and capable. If you really wanted to, you could wait for sales or shop around, because I bought the majority of these items from Harbor Freight. One thing I did not include in the price was a switch control. So there are different options. You could range from like $15 all the way to like $700. And I'll be sure to go over reasons why some are more expensive than others. The time to complete this project will obviously vary depending on the experience somebody has. For someone that's not really savvy in electrical work, this may take you all day, but for more experienced people, this could take about 2 to 4 hours. Because this is more of a trail vehicle and overlanding vehicle, I want as much visibility as possible on the ground and out on the sides. So for me, inside the fender well is not a good mounting location. It may look good on a show truck where it just lights up the wheel well, but it is just not practical because it casts this big shadow from the tire out on the ground, and then you just don't have good visibility. We want to mount it as far and out from the vehicle as possible, just so we have the best visibility. Now there are two different mounting methods that you can do for these rock lights. There will be the invasive method, which I will not be doing for this video, and the non-invasive method. The invasive method could be drilling into the frame or the body of your truck. And the second way that's invasive is you could weld a bracket on the frame of your truck, and this will give you favorable mounting locations. The non-invasive method, we could either do magnets or zip ties. And this may surprise you, but in this video, we will be going over the zip tie method. In the future, I will commit to a more permanent mounting solution once I have fully decided what I want to do. Now, to turn your rock lights on and off, you're going to need a control switch. This does not need to be expensive. Like I said, this can range from like $15, but it can go all the way up to about $700. In the description below, I will give you budget-friendly options of switch controls. Somewhere between like $15 and $30, and you can just buy one of those and follow me throughout the entire installation process. For me, I am using the Switch Pro. The Switch Pro or an S-Pod are very expensive, but they are protective of the truck. So they do have a low voltage shutoff if there's a short or whatnot. And then I can also control this via Bluetooth. But all you really need to know is that we just need a switch to control the rock lights on and off. Guys, I'm installing these rock lights from Harbor Freight today. I've already done the driver's side of the truck, so I've got my trial and error out of the way. I still have to do the passenger side, so I'm going to show you step by step how I am installing these under my truck. All right, we got the rock lights out of the package. First thing we need to do is take care of these zip ties that are holding it all together. And then second, I want to get rid of all of these labels. That way I just have a bare wire like this. So what comes in the box of these Harbor Freight lights is the light, a 19-inch wire, some hardware. We will not be using the hardware, but they also come with two sorts of backings, one for a bar and one that's for a flat surface. I'm just going to use the flat surface one. This one's really nice as it helps route the wire. So when I put the backing on the rock light, the wire sits flush with the surface and it's not getting pinched. Like I said in the intro, I will be using metal zip ties to tie this into the truck. We do want to put the zip ties in a specific way, as it's going to be easier to pull nice and tight once we get them in their final position. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to loop the zip tie where the hardware is supposed to go, and we want to tighten this zip tie. So we're going to orientate the zip tie like this. This is going to be much easier when you have it flat against the surface, that it's easier to pull towards you than trying to pull towards the frame of the truck. And if you guys have never seen metal zip ties before, I got this at Harbor Freight. It's actually a brilliant method. So when you put the zip tie together, it has a little ball inside of it, and that ball helps clamp it shut. And if you accidentally looped your zip tie like this, you can take another zip tie and feed it through the back to try and push that ball out of place. Some are easier to take out than others, but that way you can conserve these. All right, so I got both sides zip tied. And why I zip tie it like this is so when it comes time to help cinch this to the frame of the truck, I have to loop another zip tie and help wrap that around the frame. So that's why I do it like that. Because if you tried to loop it through the hole and then over the frame, it might just like push down or pull up. And I want an even pull into the frame. Now that we're into the truck, we're gonna start with the middle of the truck first. This is the frame, and in the frame they have these plastic tabs. So what I'm going to do is I'm gonna pop these plastic tabs off. They're gonna break, there's no avoiding it for me. And it goes through all the way to the other side, and that way I can cinch my rock light to the frame. I use this hammer and this driver just to pop out the other side. It's much easier that way for me. I was able to push 2 zip ties through the frame and get it between the frame and the gas tank. And then I have another pair of zip ties connected to the first pair just so it gives me enough length to cinch the rock light to here. All right, and so the zip ties don't bend obviously side to side. So the zip ties are actually crisscrossed right now. And so what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take this zip tie and loop it through the back of the zip tie tied to the rock light, like so. And same with the other one. Loop it through the back. And I'm just gonna progressively tighten all the zip ties just to cinch them down. I use my pliers to help pull really tight. I use a flathead screwdriver to push on the locking mechanism. I have all my zip ties cinched down. I have the rock light placed where I want it to be. I'm going to clip these at the end once I have everything all set in place, just in case I need to remove these. I have the rock light pointing down in the back of the truck only because the frame comes a little bit into the bed of the truck and it wouldn't get much projection out. So I have it pointing down, and due to the departure angle, it probably would scrape on the trailer hitch rather than the frame anyway. So that rock light is pretty safe. I saved the front of the truck for last just because it's the hardest to show, but still taking out that tab, popping out the other side, cinching the rock light to the frame here. All right, now that we have the final rock light put in, we are going to work on wiring. It is time to wire all the rock lights together. This is 14 gauge wire of both red and black, positive and negative, and this is 100 feet. I got this off Amazon for like $17. This is going to be the end of the wire, so we're going to cut it here. And what we want to do is we want to separate these ends. Just like that. So we have our black wire and our red wire. What I have here is a wire stripping and cutting tool. So what this is going to be used for is we're going to strip the wire coating off. We only want a little bit, maybe like 1/8 of an inch. So we want to leave that much exposed. This is going to help us connect this wire to the rock light wire. And we're going to do that with both ends. All right, so we got both of these exposed. And how we're going to connect this wire to the rock light is something called a butt connector. So this butt connector goes on the wire, and there is a metal piece in there, and we're going to crimp that. And we're going to crimp it with this device right here. And after we crimp it, this is also a heat shrink butt connector as well. So this will help keep any moisture or dirt or anything out of the bare wire. With strand wire, it helps to twist it to get it really nice and tight. Then I crimped it, so now it is secure in there, and we're going to use a lighter to help wrap the butt connector around the wire. You don't want the flame to touch the butt connector, but you want it to heat up so it helps seal it. That is just going to help give us a nice airtight seal around that wire. We're going to do it to the other side now on the black wire. All right, I have both of these ends crimped and heat shrinked. Now we're going to connect it to the rock light. On the rock lights, they have a red and a black wire, and then they also have this insulation wrap around it. I'm going to just open this up a little bit more just because I want a little bit more space to work with. So I can open them up just like that. That way I have a little bit more wire. Same thing, we're gonna strip this. And you wanna make sure red to red. That is your positive, red to red. Go ahead and crimp this side, and we're going to heat shrink it. It helps to do this in a garage so you don't have to deal with the wind, because ideally you don't want the fire touching the shrink wrap. All right, now that we have our 14 gauge wire connected to our rock light, we're going to start routing this wire on the frame and to the other rock lights. Right now I'm going to route this up and behind the frame, and then I'm going to zip tie it later. All right, you can see I've started guiding my wire along the frame. I'm trying to keep it as close to other wires as possible because it'll make it easier to zip tie to it. Now that we routed the wire towards the middle of the truck, we're going to use the middle rock light and tap the wire into the main wire here. And how we're going to do that is we need to split this apart first so it's easier for us to tap into. So I use a little razor knife, split down the middle. All right, it's going to be just like that. So remember, red to red, black to black. We are going to utilize something called a tap splice. There's a stopper on the tap splice. The stopper is going to be for the wire that we want to tap into the main line. And so we're gonna push our main line into this tap splicer. All right, so both the red wires of the main line and the rock light are in there. And now what we have to do is we have to push down this metal piece so it cuts into the wire and successfully connects it. And it will also help hold them in place. And how I'm gonna do that is I'm gonna use this pliers, crunch it in place, and then we're gonna fold over this little lever, and it's going to help secure it. So now those two wires are tapped into each other, and now we have to do that with the black wire. All right, and as you can kind of see, the 14 gauge wire is a little bit bigger than the rock light wire. The rock light wire is about a 16 gauge, but this tap splice is meant for 16 and 14 gauge, so it's okay. Push it down, lock it in, and we have both of those tap spliced, or continue routing it to the front. So here's the front wheel well. I have it routed under the fender liner, right over the coilover, and then dropping down to the front rock light, and we're going to connect it using the butt connectors. Much easier without the wind. We need to tie this into a switch. For me, I have a Switch Pro. For anybody else that doesn't have a Switch Pro or an S-Pod or whatever, you can just go on Amazon, and for $15 you can get a wiring harness switch. And essentially you'll be doing the exact same thing. This rock light, the front one, is connected all the way to the rear one. Now we need to connect our main wire to a switch wire, and that's what I'm going to do with this. This is going to connect to my Switch Pro, and I need to splice it into my main wire. I want to make sure that we verify black to black, and we want to make sure that our switch wire is pushed all the way in to tap into our main wire. All right, so I know this looks like a jumbled mess. So this is our rock light tied to our main line, 14 gauge, connected via butt connectors. And then our switch light is spliced into our main wire. And we're gonna go up top and look at what the switch light looks like, or the switch wire looks like. All right, I know this is a hot mess of wires, but bear with me here. I'll try to explain everything. So this is a Switch Pro that I have tied to the truck. If people that don't have a Switch Pro or an S-Pod, you would just use a wire harness switch for like $15 on Amazon. This will help me control my lights. I already have it tied in on the driver's side. Now I just have to do the passenger side. So for me, this wire from the Switch Pro is what is going to go to the positive end of my rock light. And the negative on the rock light is going to tie into where my other negative wires are tied into my truck. I used to have this bus bar here, but I decided to go a different route, so I'm gonna be removing this. We need to tie positive Switch Pro to the positive of my rock light wire. And we're gonna do that via a butt connector. All right, now that we have the positive wire from the rock lights tied to the Switch Pro, we need to tie the black wire to the ground. And I'm gonna do that via a ground terminal. All right, so this is a terminal. We are going to connect our negative wire from our rock light to this terminal and connect it to the ground in our vehicle. All right, so for me, I have a ground terminal right here. This is where some of my other accessories and some of the OEM truck accessories are connected. So this is just an easy place for me to connect my ground leads next to my Switch Pro. All right, I verified all the rock lights do work. Now just the tedious part. I have to tighten all the metal zip ties. I have to plastic zip tie the wire on the frame, make sure everything's nice and tight. I'm gonna use some electrical tape around the butt connectors and the wire tap splicer just to cover anything exposed and just to keep everything looking nice and tidy. You gotta be very careful of these edges because obviously they're razor sharp. All right, now that we have the rock lights installed, let's talk about them and review them. I have taken these lights on 2 trips so far, and I do really like them. They have increased my visibility on the trail and around the campsite, which is very important to me and my wife. Would I have done this a different way? I would say no. I think, like I said, this is a trial run, and I will find a more permanent solution in the future once I have decided on one. But for right now, this was a good trial run, and it was a really nice DIY project. If you're doing your own research on wanting to install your own rock lights, I want to encourage you to do it. It's going to give you experience, and you're going to learn a lot along the way. If you guys have any questions, please throw me a comment down below, and I will do my best to help you. And if you guys could give me a like and a subscribe, I will have more truck projects posted in the future. Thank you for watching.